Again, welcome to this installment of The Resilient Entrepreneur. I'm John Danner with my co-host in absentia for this particular installment, Mark Cooper-Smith, and our client, the NIIC. I wanted to focus this segment on the last stage of the failure value cycle, remember. And this was a stage that, frankly, Mark and I were surprised to add. It was not something we'd thought of when we began the process of doing the research and writing the book. But several of the interviews that we conducted and the people that we talked with strongly recommended that we include this in this particular framework. And we asked why. One of our interviewees was a former Top Gun pilot, and he talked about the power of checklists, the power of capturing the memory of past mistakes in the world of aviation, in particular fighter pilots, but all aviation. Because he said checklists are a way of using the memory of past failures to prevent future mistakes and future failures. And that rang true to us, just as it did for Atul Gawande in his famous book, The Checklist Manifesto, which was the result of his research into how to avoid unnecessary mistakes in surgeries and operating rooms around the world. So at their suggestion and with their wisdom, we took their advice and included it as the seventh stage. So what can you do to capture the value of a failure that has already happened? You've dealt with it, you've reflected on it, you've rebounded from it, it's over. But what can you do to still capture learning from it and share that learning with your team and your organization? Well, I'll start by asking you whether or not you've ever seen Stan the Dinosaur. This is right at what's known as the Googleplex, Google's world headquarters. Why is Stan the Dinosaur there, other than the fact that it turns out he happened to have been discovered there, but before the skeleton was restored by the founders of Google? What's the significance of having a dinosaur in the headquarters of one of the most valuable companies in the world? It's the message of memory. It's the message that the folks that founded Google want every person who works for Google to remember every single day. And that is that Google too can become extinct if it doesn't continue to innovate, if it doesn't continue to try new things, if it doesn't learn from its failures. And you see those nice buildings in the background behind Stan? That building is also a reminder, because it used to be the world headquarters of a company called Silicon Graphics, which didn't survive, which did become fundamentally extinct. And it was Google that inherited those headquarters as the beginning of their Googleplex. So there's a powerful message about the importance of innovation, of experimentation, and of learning from failure in order to avoid major mistakes and stay current with a market, particularly one that is fast moving and competitive. So your role in this particular stage is really one of a storyteller, a proud storyteller. Because if your team, if your organization, if your business has done a good job of dealing with failures in the past, of learning from them, of building success, maybe out of the ashes of prior failures, you have some powerful stories, some stories to share with your current employees, some stories that might actually help you recruit new members to your team, as well as basically build credibility with your customers, because it demonstrates the resilience that your venture has established. You can do it through the questions you ask, the stories you tell, the words you use, and maybe even, like Stan the Dinosaur, the relics, the memories that you keep visible, even though they may have happened months ago or maybe even years ago. Want another example? Go to Seattle. Go to the headquarters of Amazon. another of the world's most valuable companies today. And you'll see this skeleton. Now, this happens to be a cave bear from the Ice Age. It was bought by Jeff Bezos in the early days of a venture that Amazon started and then shut down. It failed. But it is there as a reminder, just like Stan the dinosaur, to do what Jeff Bezos talks about, staying in day one, keeping focused on learning, being willing to try things, thinking like a startup, like you folks are doing. Remembering how you've dealt with failure in the past, having the confidence and the pride that goes with having survived those failures, but more importantly, having learned about them, having applied the lessons to your current business, to your current thinking, to how your team functions today. Because memory is one of the most powerful ways in which you can do what Mark and I have been suggesting from our very first introductory video in this series. And that is turning failure from a regret into a strategic resource that can improve your odds of doing what you really want to do all along, which is to succeed, to have your venture be something you're proud of, that your customers like, that you enjoy, that your team members are proud to have contributed to. So that's stage 7 in the failure value cycle. Important? Important because it helps us keep those insights alive. Thanks. Good luck.